Horrific situation in New York City as a gunman came from Nevada, and it looks like targeted this location in Midtown and killed 4 people. Then he killed himself. To talk a little bit more about this is Gene Petrino, former and retired SWAT commander. Gene, welcome in. Thanks for being with me.
Thanks, JT.
So I heard there was some talk about CTE. Have you heard anything about this and the motive behind what was going on here?
I did just pick up on that a little while ago, and that would be one of those situations that could cause a person to act this way. So it's definitely an interesting turn of events.
The NFL headquarters there, so I guess we'll find out more as they dig into this investigation here. But it looks like a targeted attack to me, not so much random. I mean, you leave from Nevada and head to New York City and end up at this building. I don't think it was just random. He could have just randomly killed people where he was. Yeah,
it's all of these attacks. There's always some kind of intent on where they're picking and their targets. So this one definitely, you're driving across country and going to a specific building in a city with quite a few buildings. Clearly he knew where he was going, and it was a well thought out and laid out plan for him.
As a retired SWAT commander, when a guy enters a building like this, can you really be prepared if he's got a rifle like this and just walks in and people are about their business in Midtown Manhattan at afternoon, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon? It's tough to defend against that, even if you're armed.
Yeah, it really is. But this is where training comes into play. A lot of people will think that there's not much they can do, but a lot of stuff can be done on the front end of it is watching, people's behavior beforehand to see if there's any signs that they're going to start doing this. But once the shooting starts, it is very difficult to defend if you don't have security measures in place. But even in this case, there's an off-duty police officer, unfortunately, was killed in this, who was doing security there. It's very difficult sometimes, but the notification systems in buildings like this when this happens are really important to help save lives once the shooting starts, to get people to shelter in place and things like that.
Well, I saw a lot of sheltering in place. There's pictures that have obviously made social medias where offices, locked doors, stacked furniture up against it. So there was some training, and I guess who does that? The building people, or is it the corporations that train their own individual employees? How does that training translate and get started?
Well, it comes down to typically the companies within those buildings. Every organization has a responsibility to provide safe work environments for their employees and for the visitors at their businesses. And part of that is to learn the proper procedures or the best concepts behind sheltering in place or fighting if you have to, or if there's a way to escape, to do that as well. So it really falls on not so much the building as it does the companies within it. But the building itself, with their security guards, they should be trained as well as how to respond in a little bit different manner. But it's really, when you think about it, it comes down to individuals too. We all, at this point, should know enough to know what to do in these incidents. And if you don't, it's time to start paying attention.
Yeah, 100%. And I think anybody that's got any leadership roles in companies listening right now ought to be going, are we prepared in our own situation? As a SWAT commander, when you enter a situation like this, 40-story building, you get the call, there's an active shooter situation. You don't know what floor he's on. He's obviously shot people in the lobby, but then he jumps on this elevator and rides up to what could have been, any one of those floors. How do you guys handle situations like that when it could still be a situation as he goes up the floors, killing people all the way up, up to the top?
Yeah, it's a very challenging situation. The first priority is to stop the killing, and then when you come across injured, just to help prevent them from dying if you can, stop the bleeding and things like that. It does get very challenging to figure out what floor they're going to, but this is where this is where the security team at a complex really comes into play, because they can help give access to surveillance systems and things like that, so you can track where they're coming from. And also, you frequently will get phone calls of what floor are you on. If they hear people shooting on that floor, you get a lot of 911 calls, and that also is information that is passed on to law enforcement to help them locate the shooter.
This was not going to end well for this guy, and I would imagine he realized that. He took his own life. Does that, when SWAT teams are brought in, seem to be a pretty common thing? Either SWAT teams take them out or they take their own lives?
Yeah, they usually it's I shouldn't say usually. Typically, you'll find that they're either going to be taken out by law enforcement or they're gonna commit suicide. It's not something they're usually walking away from, and they know that going into this. This is part of the whole planning. Like you're saying, this was a planned event. He had planned from the very beginning what his actions were going to do. He probably had it all planned down to the exact route that he was going to take. And clearly he knew which floor he was going to. So I imagine that he knew that once he was going to accomplish however many people he wanted to shoot, or, where he wanted to go, he was going to end his life himself. I think he had a plan, and he was going to go until he either killed himself or he was killed by law enforcement.
Yeah, we talked about being prepared for something like this when it does happen, individually and as a company. But in New York City, it's tough to get gun permits. I mean, they're one of the most liberal, gun-restricting areas of our country here, where a Democrat did not waste any time coming out there saying this is the fault of the Republicans because they're not buying into gun control. Your thoughts on, good guys with guns versus bad guys with guns? Does it not make more sense that you should allow good people to carry in situations like this wherever they are? Whether it's an office building or you're going to, business or whatever. I mean, with situations, if you're armed, you're prepared.
Yeah, the statistics that I keep coming across are showing that, having restricted gun laws really does not benefit anyone, and having the opportunity to have people who could be armed to stop the incident has a better likelihood of ending the event before anything happens. So, yeah, I tend to believe that when you have these strong gun controls, you really don't, it's sort of counterproductive to what you're trying to do. It's really not saving people. It's actually causing a greater likelihood of someone getting killed.
Well, Gene, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for weighing in with us, and we'll do it again sometime soon. Hopefully not, the same circumstance, but thank you.
You got it, JT. Thank you.